Hi, I'm going to read a story today from this book called All the Women of the Bible. And the story that I'm reading today is Deborah and the Cautious Commander. I think this is going to be a two-part video, but I don't quite know. So let's just get into it and find out who Deborah is. The day was hot, even in the highlands of Ephraim. There was a small breeze, but it was hot too. Under the tree, Deborah shifted position slightly as she scanned the crowd and then the horizon and suppressed a groan. This bench must have had rocks for ancestors, she thought. It gets harder and harder as the day wears on. I didn't think oak could grow angles with points in odd places. Not once it was dead. Oh well, the sun has to set eventually. Aloud, she snapped, "Barak!" "Not here yet," her husband left. Lapidot, serving as her herald and clerk, replied. "I sent for him at dawn," she hissed. "How dare he?" Her husband looked at her calmly. "He'll come eventually. He dare not refuse. You are the Lord God's judge and prophet. Put him out of your mind for the present. Do your work, even if he's not doing his." She glowered briefly, then nodded. "Next case, please," he called out, and she straightened herself to deal with the two older men who presented themselves before her. Evidently, they were herders, quarreling over their beasts or perhaps pasturage or water rights. At any rate, they had brought a goat with them and glared at each other over its back. The goat ignored them and checked around for something to chew on, preferably grass, but in a pinch, brambles might do. Patiently, Deborah extracted their story, which took a while as they were both angry and neither wanted to let the other finish the sentence. Finally, she sat back. "Let's see," she said. "This goat is yours, Simon." The taller man nodded. "And you, Samuel, claim that Simon's goat ate a piece out of your cloak." "My best cloak," Samuel declared, hands balled into fists and planted on his hips. "And out of the very middle, too. Anna is furious with me." "With you?" Deborah asked in some surprise. "Why?" "Because of where Samuel and the cloak and the goat were at the time," Simon responded sardonically. Samuel squirmed but did not sit back down. "And that was?" inquired Deborah. Samuel mumbled something. "Again, please. I didn't hear that," Deborah said, a chill in her voice. Taking a deep breath, Samuel said clearly, "We were in the Amalekites' enclosure." "Drinking, whoring, or gambling?" inquired Deborah briskly. Simon stared at her open mouth, and Samuel blinked. "Gambling," he said simply. "I don't like to drink spirits, and I can't afford his girls." Then he clapped over his mouth, his hand over his mouth. "Anna will kill me, please." He looked at Deborah, dropped his hand in discouragement, and sighed. "I know I shouldn't have, but I had to. I needed the money. Anna's being so difficult these days, always wanting things. I thought maybe if I got her something pretty, well, that was why." "But Samuel, you always lose when you gamble," Simon protested. "Everyone who gambles with the Amalekites loses," Deborah observed tartly. "You have children, Samuel?" "7, he announced proudly, "and the 8th is on the way." Said Deborah. "That would make me difficult, too. But that doesn't tell me how the goat got involved and how he ate a piece of your cloak. Go on." Now Samuel blushed in earnest. "The goat was there because I brought him there," he began. He leaned over the goat and showed Deborah a lead he had fastened around the goat's neck. "I used my sash," he explained. I thought if I brought the goat, the Amalekite would think I had plenty of money and would let me bet my coins. I thought I could win enough on the first throw to be able to bet more on the next, and so on. I wanted to win enough to buy a length of crimson for Anna. At first I won, but then on the third throw I lost it all. The goat, Deborah reminded him. Samuel hung his head. The Amalekite made me an offer, he said softly. He knew I had no more coins, so he offered to let me do best 2 of 3 throws with his dice, double all the money I had lost against the goat. Simon's goat, Deborah repeated, and both men nodded. What happened? Surely you didn't win. The sun rose in the east this morning. Samuel looked puzzled but answered. That's when the goat took the piece out of the center of my cloak. That goat tiptoed over to me while I was concentrating, picked up a fold of my cloak and gnawed a piece out of it, and then he bit me. Reflexively, his hands sought his rear, and he winced. Really hard, he added. Simon, who had been struggling up against a smile, gave up and laughed aloud. Deborah was more successful at maintaining her decorum, though there was a suspicious twinkle in her eyes. So, she summarized, you stole Simon's goat, and you were about to gamble it away to the Amalekite. The goat compensated its true owner for the theft by damaging her cloak. Then the goat very cleverly defended its life, as every creature has a right to do. It prevented the mortal injury you were about to perpetrate on its person by inflicting a much lesser injury on you. The goat is here, hale and hearty. Its owner is here. Simon, take your goat, but return Samuel's sash to him. Samuel bent to undo the sash. I'm going to run out of time, so we're going to go to part 2.